10 years ago, it would have been impossible to imagine anyone responding to an acute energy shock, primarily by accelerating a move to renewable energy. But I think that's what we've seen over the last 12 months. We've got a map here that shows a small sampling of headlines from across Europe over the past year. Wind, solar, EV, records being set almost monthly. Permitting reforms to accelerate deployment. First-of-kind projects proving out promising clean technologies like floating offshore wind and green hydrogen. What has made modern, renewable, and other clean technologies Europe's first and best tools for heading off the acute energy crisis you're dealing with now?
Thank you, Senator. I think the first part of my response is a fact of geology and geography. We do not have the abundance of energy sources in Europe. We're net importers to a very significant extent. So in other words, becoming completely independent is not possible. We need to rely on partners like the United States for working for secure energy. But we also need to become as resilient as possible within that reality. And one of the aspects, one necessary component of that resilience and that independence is renewable energy. Solar, wind, hydro, geothermal as the most used ones, as well as biofuels and biomethane in the European Union. So the green transition is an absolute necessity for our security, for our independence, for our resilience in energy terms. Those two objectives, security of supply and the green transition, go hand in hand. The green transition is necessary for security of supply. The other aspect that I just want to flag briefly is the fact that the technology for renewable energy has developed very, very significantly over the last decades. The first offshore wind turbines that were established about 3 decades ago were essentially onshore turbines that were just put out into the water and let's see how it works. It worked, but with a fairly limited production generation. Now they are there's a significant energy coming from our renewable sources, offshore wind, but also solar, as the map shows. Thank you.
Yeah, and as you say, that it is able to allow geographies that don't have traditional access to their own energy resources to create energy resources where they didn't exist before. Dr. Mikulska, last year, our LNG exports provided a vital lifeline to our European allies. We've heard a fair amount about that. While Europe's need for LNG is acute now and will remain so for the near midterm, who knows how long, what the longer term looks like is somewhat uncertain. What should the U.S. be doing now so that we can best continue to support Europe's energy security through the shipment of LNG while planning for a range of possible futures? You follow? You understand the question?
Right. So how should what the path of the U.S. should be, right? And as Director General has mentioned here, U.S. situation is quite different than European situation. So it would not be, it would be a mistake not to think all of the above, in particular what's currently available and what's currently the most reliable sources of energy supply. Renewable energy is there. It provides electricity, it provides additional sources, but it's not reliable yet. And that provides an issue for economic development. And it does create an issue of what kind of backup power do we want. So until then, we will be relying on fossil fuels that we know, and nuclear energy and geothermal if it gets developed a little bit more, or hydro. And the U.S. should look at all of the above while making sure that its resources now are well developed and make sure that we have them not only for ourselves, but also can supply our allies. And as we have seen, and by the admission of the Director General, our allies want those resources. It's just the question is, which you actually put out there, what's the length of the short term or medium term that they need it for? We don't know that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm out of time, but Dr. Lido, just wanted to thank you for all your work. And I do agree that having more solutions, more energy sources, makes our country and the world more resilient, creates redundancy that's of immense value in times of hardship. So keep up the good work.